Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to build one of the best damage dealing champions, in fact one of the best utility champions as well for Hydra clan boss. And today I'm actually going to be throwing him into Nightmare Hydra clan boss, current hardest difficulty. It's Michinaki, the Shadowkin legendary defense-based champion who is magic affinity. So yeah, here we go. You probably see at a quick glance actually that I think the most common set he's run in, or people like to run him in, is Relentless. I actually think that's slightly actually overhyped. It's a good set for him, but it's not the best set for him, and I'm going to explain why to you here in a second and show you how I've built him. I have over an hour and a half of runs. I'm not going to make you watch them all. We're going to skip through, show some highlights, but this first one I just wanted to introduce it to you so you've got the idea, and it will be running sort of in the background. But this is Michinaki versus Artak. It's something I wanted to test, put them in here in a pure head-to-head. Who is going to do the most damage in this particular run? I was kind of curious to see. It's a little bit difficult to test it perfectly, of course, because since they are both HP burners, they're sort of stealing damage off each other a little bit. And yeah, one of the crucial things as well is that double degeneracy. We just saw it right there coming in from Michinaki, right? AoE double hitter, first hit removing all buffs, actually super useful, gives you a lot of safety in Hydra. And the second hit, putting Hex out for 2 turns. Hex does a ton of damage. Hex is one of the most underrated debuffs for Hydra. I think I showed that very well, bringing in Mithrala as my first pick. That ultimately let me win the Hydra content creator clash. Just about, you know, it was a tight thing. I don't know, but we got there just about. Certainly, we built a very nice team, and Mithrala with Hex doing so much damage. How does Hex do damage? Very simple. If you know, maybe if you're just back to the game, it's not very clear in the game exactly what it does. Hex will actually duplicate 10% of all single target damage you do to other targets with Hex, or 2% of all AoE damage that you do to all targets with Hex. So it actually works extremely well with powerful single target damage dealers. Like you imagine in Hydra, we decapitate a head, the decapitated head is taking massive bonus damage, and then we're duplicating that 10% of that damage to 3 other heads. It's basically upping our single target damage, which is already boosted by decapitation. It's giving us effectively 30% more damage from a single target, which is huge. With AoE, it's a bit less, but you know, it's just constantly working. And it all adds up to a lot. It's very, yeah, it's something I think people don't fully appreciate, but it is true and it is in there. By the way, all of these runs we're going to see today are going to be just, I think at the start of the second run, I was targeting for a little bit and then I said, you know what? No. Let's leave them all just full auto, completely full auto. It's definitely, there's some pay to win sort of aspects to these teams for sure, but Michinaki is the focus. So let's look at him. Why am I running Michinaki in Provoke instead of Relentless? I think Relentless is sort of thought to be the set to go to for Michinaki. I think it's good, but it's not the best. Reason being very simple. What does Relentless do? Relentless, let me see, who has Relentless? Let's go to Ugo, who's actually in these runs as well. That's a perfect example. Ugo is in Relentless, 18% chance for an extra turn. Why is that so good with Ugo? Well, Ugo bringing in block buffs, we want to get back to this as much as possible. We want to have as much uptime as possible on this buff. When new heads spawn in, if a cleanse ever goes out, we want to get back to block buffs as consistently as quickly as possible. That's part of why this is so good. She also is a very inconsistent A1 leech, and then she has a heal with a cleanse as well. So getting back to that heal makes a huge difference to your team survivability. So it's those sort of things, like really wanting super high uptime on a debuff or getting back to a heal is very impactful. Another great example would be someone like Husk, would be a perfect example. I don't have my Husk in this right now, but just these enemy max HP nukes hit so hard, just getting back to those as quickly as possible is super good. And then Provoke, a very inconsistent debuff. When we come to Michinaki, I do think Relentless is good, right? He's got an AoE A3 and AoE A2. Getting back to those AoEs is just going to do decent damage with War Master. It's going to be pretty good. But you should have pretty good uptime on this Hex. And you should have pretty good uptime on the decreased defense, decreased attack, just running him at a decent speed. So I actually don't think it's super important. His passive, where he joins in with ally attacks, in some ways, it's actually worse with Relentless because he's going to outrun his damage buffs if you are running any. Something to consider. Not a huge deal, but it's something to consider. And then his A1, it is a low chance of HP burn, but he's getting so many A1s with his passive, which is super, super, super powerful, that you're still really good. But what this does, whenever an ally attacks an enemy under Hex, you've got a 50-50 to team up and join in the ally's attack. So he just does an ally attack A1, 50-50 chance. So yeah, I think Relentless on him is okay, but he's got no enemy max HP. It's going to up his damage for sure. And he's super tanky. You don't need to worry about defensive buffs, but it's not the main thing. I think Provoke set is actually the better way to go. Why is Provoke so good on him? Well, he's got 2-3 turn cooldown AoEs. So he's got lots of AoE hits, which on full auto is going to make sure he gets that Provoke and Head of Decay nice and consistently. On top of that, this 50-50 to ally attack is going to be actually very good for all these extra A1s. If you wanted, you could actually target a head specifically. You could click on the Head of Decay, make him target it, and yeah, that would work really well too. You'd basically becomes one of the best provokers in the game. It's very strong because you get so many ally attacks, especially in Hydra where you've got a team of 6, although one of us is eating right now. If we skip ahead, let me show you how this run ended. So I ended it when someone got devoured, which they did. It was Artak. And I saw to actually see this. There we go. I think I actually upped the accuracy slightly afterwards. Doesn't really matter. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Play and pause. And there we go. So in this head-to-head, ooh, interesting. Artak actually beat Michinaki in this particular head-to-head. I think what's going on here, you can see we don't have all that much damage on the rest of the team. And Artak, a lot of his damage is coming from burns, so that Hex is not being really utilized to the full. It's still a great team, 38.98 million on Nightmare full auto. That's still pretty nice, but not making the most out of it, I would say, but still pretty interesting. And there you go. Thought that was an interesting comparison. If you want to see, by the way, Artak was in Relentless and Perception. And let me actually show you the gear and the masteries too. So Michinaki, he is coming in. I have him at 230 speed. 4,500 defense, 100% crit rate is actually slightly too high on that, and 205% crit damage, 373 accuracy, 39,500 HP. I would say the important things to build on him, and this is part of what's tricky as well. Bear in mind, his damage is based off of defense. If you do not have an increased defense buff in your team, I mean, his damage isn't going to be that insane. A lot of the damage is coming from the burns, from War Master, from all these extra attacks. It's coming from Hex, okay? So I think actually focusing on his damage is not super essential. The most important things for Michinaki, number 1, high accuracy, right? Number 2, high speed. So for Nightmare Hydra, we kind of prefer to have more like 400 accuracy. I think if we include our bonus here, 389, we're pretty close, but a little bit low. But about 400 accuracy for Nightmare. You can really tone it down. Check out, I've done plenty of videos on Hydra. You can go to my Discord, should be linked in the description down below if you want to see. And you can check out Hydra stats or check out Hell Hades, the stages tool optimizer. There's lots of useful info, both in my Discord, in the actual channel called Useful Info, and on Hell Hades if you want to see the stats you need for each stage of the Hydra difficulties. 230 speed, again, good high speed would be my second priority. Then after that, I'd be looking for 100% crit rate. Then look for some good defense and then up some crit damage as well. But I'm not actually overly concerned about his damage, and he's still doing fantastic damage. Stat hungry champion though. Artak was in Relentless for more turns, 250 speed, so he's faster, bit lower on the accuracy, bit low on that, and 74k HP. And Artak, he's really all about burns and exploding the burns. And yeah, I didn't really want to re-gear him because I use him in my spider team, so I wanted to keep him like that. Michinaki, by the way, with his masteries, he's coming in fairly straightforward. We actually don't need this crit rate one, but hey, you know what? 75 attack is literally nothing for him, so it's fine. I just should switch his gear so he's not at 107% crit rate. It's okay. War Master, gonna really up your damage. Then we definitely want Master Hexer to extend all of his debuffs, just get even better uptime on the Hex, the decreased defense, the decreased attack, all that good stuff. And then we'll give him Sniper, just up his chance to place that burn on his A1 from what, 60 to 65%. Kind of a nice little booster right there. I actually think Cycle of Magic is not super good on him, but I ran it on him anyway, but it can desync his skills a little bit. And there you go. That's a simple way to build Michinaki. Team number 2 that I threw him into then was actually throwing in throwing him in with a Royal Guard instead. I thought this was a much better use of Michinaki, right? And use your Artak in a different team. We're still going to get HP burn, lots of damage from HP burn from Michinaki, but we're not wasting Artak's decreased attack, which Michinaki already brings. We're not wasting, the burns, which Michinaki's already bringing. And Royal Guard brings us a couple of things. Number one, he's going to bring us a decreased speed, which is brilliant. And he's going to bring us big enemy max HP damage, which is going to duplicate through Artak's Hex and be very, very effective. So it's kind of nice. You can see the rest of the team here. Ugo, she does bring decreased defense, which Michinaki already brings. Bit of overlap, but I did find it worked well. And Shamail is in there. Again, he's actually going to be boosting Michinaki in the lead. We get a nice defensive aura. It's really good. I did actually, in one of the runs, there you go. You can see it didn't work very well, though. I did switch Ugo out for Archbishop Pinthroy, which should be a kind of nice combo. Because Pinthroy doesn't bring the decreased defense like Ugo does, but brings us increased accuracy. So that opens up some options. Pinthroy also brings increased defense, which is going to up Michinaki's damage. I think it could be a good combo, but you might have spotted, like, the Head of Mischief, he was just stealing some of our buffs in some of these runs. Just from a little bit of bad luck, and Pinthroy just being not an amazing affinity for some of the more annoying heads this time. So the Pinthroy run really flopped. We did 20.8 million, which wasn't good. How did we do on this run here? Oh, there it was. I think just before I was setting it up. So in this run, I stopped this run after the first person was devoured. We did 56 million with Michinaki. 20 million from him, 19 million from Royal Guard, Elva, Krisk, Shamail, and Ugo. So an impressive showing, I think, from Michinaki. Then the final team that I brought in was very simple. It was bringing in Sifi instead, right? So what does Sifi bring instead of Elva? Increased defense. So this was sort of this is the most pay-to-win version of the team, I would say, with Sifi and Krisk and the Michinaki in there. But I thought this was a really nice team. I actually love this team. It's very consistent, right? If Inquisitor Shamail gets eaten, we still have the Sifi passive to give us a good chance to get past the fears, right? Gives us a 50-50 to remove fear every single time we take a turn, so she can get us past those true fears, which is great. Sifi doesn't have the best uptime on her buffs, but Krisk is extending buffs, and it makes it work. I will say, actually, with this team, if you're looking for replacements for this team, you could run, I think, really any sort of reviver, tanky reviver in Sifi's place, and that would work just fine. Like, you could run a Godseeker in Eerie. That could be really, really strong. I know she's a guaranteed actually today. That's something to consider. I think that would work very well. Or any similar sort of champions. You just want someone with a bit of healing, and just to make sure that if Royal Guard, for example, does die, who's kind of squishy, that you can pick him back up. Or if your team is a little bit lacking on survivability, it's something that you can do. Krisk is obviously fantastic. But you could bring in a different Mischief tank. You could bring in just a different champion in general. You could make it work. You could build Shamail as a Mischief tank, which I sort of have done here. If you have a Blood Shield accessory, which I do not have, Shamail could Mischief tank, and you could bring somebody else in instead. So you've got lots of options there. Like a Nekmothar would be really, really strong, for example, to just give you tons of turns and speed. But yeah, we've got, look, increased speed. Very consistent from Sifi and Krisk together, especially with the extending buffs. We've got decreased speed, a little bit from Krisk, a little bit from Royal Guard. The two together make it work. Very consistent decreased defense. Very consistent decreased attack as well with this team. We can deal with the Head of Torment. We've got great damage at Michinaki and Royal Guard. And yeah, I thought this team was pretty fantastic, to be honest with you. And with the Provokes, this is the nice thing as well. Krisk does the Provoke every 3 turns. Michinaki, with the taunting set, is going to be the backup provoker, and that'll be, like I said, even better if you target at the head. So it's not going to be perfect, right? You will get Head of Decay, he will get some turns, he will get some cleanses. You're not going to lock him down perfectly like this, but it's going to be pretty darn good, especially because Michinaki is going to get speed boosted by Shamail from the Head of Torment. Like right there, I think Michinaki, I'm pretty sure he did an AoE attack, and it got the Provoke out on the Head of Decay, which is awesome. Let's see. Let's watch it for a second, see if he does it again. He might. One thing that's kind of nice is having different... Look, there we go again. We got the Provoke set, came in. Boom for Michinaki. and locked him down. Fantastic. This head might take a turn now in a second. And he's locked it down 2 times in a row. Probably it looks like Chris is going to get a turn. No, okay, never mind. Chris should get his turn right now. Yeah, and there we go. Chris comes in and locks him down. So Michinaki locked him down twice. Fantastic. And then Chris comes back in. That's beautiful. That's something you can't do with Relentless Michinaki. I thought it was a really nice combo and synergizes so well with all this team coming together. So this was sort of like the ultimate version of the team, and this team is just really nice, really smooth cruising through. And yeah, I think at this point we got unlucky, and this is where you can get unlucky. Krisk, his Provoke got resisted, and we were in a real bad spot here. And yeah, Michinaki, I think, got resisted as well. Maybe if we'd provoked right there and the Hex was on, he could have been broken free. Maybe not. There's obviously some luck here. And yeah, if you targeted them, it'll be more consistent. But that was how it ran out in the end. And oops, I did it wrong. I made this very awkward for myself. Actually, I don't need to do it like this. I can show it to you in game because I locked it in. But yeah, this is how I build Michinaki and the types of teams I'd be running him in. I think he's insanely good. Let's see. Here we go. How did he do in the end? 32.6 million damage. That's pretty phenomenal. Royal Guard, 23.7. So he's really outclipped the Royal Guard. Good chunk of that, for sure, is he's being speed boosted by Shamail. That helps. Definitely helps. Yeah, he's not built for pure damage. He's bringing that utility in as well, which is so useful. And yeah, he's fantastic. I think he's a very strong option to go in the lead. I think he's considerably better than a Geomancer, for instance. I think he's a big upgrade. I think he's better than Artak as well. But Artak's actually extremely good too. I mean, Artak's not far behind. The big difference is, I mean, honestly, Artak works in this team really well because we already have Krisk in there, you know? But Michinaki bringing the Hex too, it just gives you that layer of consistency, which is really good. So yeah, I thought that was pretty nice. To give you an idea, like 78 million is not bad. We've got Thanatos up here. This is the most pay to win version of this team. The Michinaki coming in, you can see his Michinaki's just in whatever, and he's fine. Again, I do think Provoke would be better for him, but hey, listen, the dude did almost 500 million. Can't really criticize, can we? The two Acrisias doing about 190, 180. Michinaki about 80 million. So this is the question I see sometimes. Is Michinaki as good as Acrisia? The answer is no. Nobody is as good as Acrisia in terms of damage. But you can see he really keeps up because he's stealing a lot of the damage that she is doing. He is taking it for himself with the Hex, and that's how he is doing so much damage right here. We've got another Michinaki from PB right here. This one actually had no sets, believe it or not. And you can see he's doing much lower damage, 9 million. Acrisia coming in with 51. This one is very lopsided, my goodness. Much more lopsided there, which is intriguing to see. And I think we had one more Michinaki team. We did, which is the more traditional, relentless build to it. Personally, again, I'm not a massive fan of this as much because it's great if you're going to target the heads. But like Husk, he's just not going to target the right head all that often. It clearly works just fine, but there can be downsides to it. I think there was one team I wanted to show you guys on Brutal. Yeah, up here. Also a Sifi team, but here you can see, wow, Michinaki really slamming in the damage because he's stealing so much of that damage, especially from Turvold, right? Turvold, big single target damage. Basically 30% of Turvold's damage is being stolen by Michinaki at all times, right? So the Hex from Michinaki, from Turvold alone, gave him about 8 million of his damage right there. And then he's also stealing from everyone else. It adds up very quickly to a lot. So yeah, I hope that was helpful. I hope it was interesting to see Michinaki, how I put him into teams. We're going to be building on him in the future. I'd love to get a more successful team in with him with Archbishop Pinthroy. I think that could be fun. But yeah, I was very happy with that. Let me show you the builds for all these champions here before we go. We obviously looked at Michinaki. He is in the taunting set, the Provoke set, which is just fantastic with these stats and these masteries. Only thing I would change at these stats, I'd like to get, honestly, his speed and his accuracy a bit higher. I could totally even drop his crit damage a bit and just be like, yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I think speed and accuracy are really the keys there. Sifi came in. So Sifi is in crazy gear. That is really unnecessary. And these masteries. Krisk, he is in perception gear. He's now actually over geared, actually, even for Nightmare, especially if we add on Hydra battle bonuses. You need about 505 resistance, and you need about 405, I think, accuracy to max it out. He's actually gone way beyond that now, which is kind of funny. We had Royal Guard. He is coming in just random sets with 245 speed, 100% crit rate, and 330 accuracy. So a little low on accuracy, but good enough to land at least some of those decreased speeds. And he has War Master. Shamail coming in with War Master as well. And he is in Guardian set with okay speed, actually didn't want, but decent resistance. So what I need to do is get him into a Blood Shield, and he sort of functions as a backup mischief tank. With good resistance. He's going to do a little bit of damage, with some crit rate, some attack, but mostly he's there just to reduce the team's damage a bit with Guardian, to make us basically super immune to the Head of Torment, and yeah, to do a little bit of damage along the way. But that's him with War Master. He does pretty decent damage. So that is him. And Ugo coming in is with these stats. So very high HP, very high speed, good enough accuracy. Should crank this accuracy a bit higher. And Relentless is really nice on Ugo with these masteries right there. So there you go. I think the only other one we had in here, we showed the Artak already. Let me go just by rank so it's easier for me to see. So we also had Elva. I'll show you the Elva. So Elva is now in Stalwart for me for dungeon stuff. But she is very tanky and fast. Again, kind of overkill and honestly kind of lacking resistance for Hydra. Getting her up to like 500 resist for Nightmare Hydra would be a good bit better. And these masteries for Elva. And finally, not quite so finally, we've got two more to show you, but we have the Artak, just so you can see Artak once again. Extending his burns and War Master. He's in Relentless. Not necessary. Again, I actually think Provoke set is the best one for him. But I use him more for Spider, so it's all good. And finally, Archbishop Pinthroy that we saw briefly in Relentless and Speed. And he's coming in. He's got low accuracy because he gives himself increased accuracy. So he doesn't actually need much accuracy at all. And War Master. And there you go. That is my thoughts on Michinaki. He's amazing. It took me a long time to actually get him. It was last CVC, but finally I was able to pull him and build him up. But I'm very, very happy with him. Let's ascend this with Speed. Here we go. Speed for sure to end us out. Oh, we got it. We got it. Okay, well, there we go. I don't really need to re-gear him now, do I? His speed's going to go up. Fantastic. Thank you for watching. Thank you for giving me that look. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.